I'm Cyrus, and I'm coming to you from my hidden office in one of the subfloors of the Foundry Cast Studios, and welcome to the GM's Chair. Now, I've often said I look at the GM's Chair series of videos as somewhat of a sneak peek look behind the GM screen. And if you don't know what a GM screen is, it's a divider that is often used in tabletop role-playing games for the dungeon master or the game master sort of quarantine off their area to keep things hidden from the other players. And I'm sure you can imagine how useful like that something would be. However, within the tabletop community, there is a debate that's still going on and has been for over 10 years, and that is how necessary is a GM screen? And the short answer is, well, it depends on your style. Definitely the way you like to play, what works for you, that's fine. And if you don't know what one looks like, here is a simple one from Pathfinder. You can see it basically is just a heavy cardstock or laminate. There are other companies that do it for different games, and it usually has images on one side and maybe some helpful information on the other side. You can even make your own, which a lot of DIY websites are out there that'll show you how to do that. But is it truly necessary? Again, has to do with your style. But I'm of the belief that yes, it is a good thing. And I'd like to share with you some of the arguments against and my rebuttals for using the screen. And the first one is that it separates the dungeon master from the players, because it's literally a barrier that divides the table and separates me from you. I've never had someone come up to me after a game. I've never heard of anyone ever saying, that screen made this experience feel a little more adversarial and less collaborative than I'd like. It just doesn't happen. I've never heard the players say, we feel like we're really far away from you. And the only time I've ever seen anything like that had to do with just the placement in the room. That the game master was really, really far away down the length of a long table, and that the players were on the far end of it, so it really was an us versus them, instead of we're all around a table. So you can strategize your setup a little bit better than that. The second one is secrecy. You don't want the players to see the monsters or the other NPCs they haven't encountered yet. You don't want them to see maps with the traps and the treasures already marked on them. So it's argued that you should just keep those things out of sight until you need them. Just keep them in your book, keep them folded up until you need to look. And my argument against that is, if I open up the monster manual or the bestiary book and you see me looking at a rust monster, then you are wearing full plate armor and you're going to know just because you saw it, like, I need to stay in the back of the party because the rust monster is going to tear me up. You can't help but have wandering eyes. It's just going to happen. I'm an honest player, but I make sure to stay away from my game master's table because my eyes will see things and my brain will interpret those things. So secrecy, yes, it's up to you to keep a little bit of a better barrier, because people are just going to notice these kinds of things. Some people talk about the separation of player knowledge from character knowledge. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're a rogue and you're in my game and you want to pick a lock and you roll a 2. You roll it out in the open, you roll a 2. Everybody is going to know that you failed because you rolled a 2. And if someone else even has a rudimentary lockpicking skill, they're going to give it a try. But what if you rolled a 20 and you failed? Then no one else is going to try because they know there's something else going on. So sometimes a game master may want to, and in very rare circumstances, roll the dice for a player. Now you need to set this expectation in the very beginning. Your players need to know that every now and again, you are going to roll a skill check for them. Or something, for example, if I ask you to make a will save, and you fail it, you may, as a player, not a character, player, begin to act in a weird way knowing that you failed the will save. If you don't know what you failed or succeeded at, and then weird things start to happen, then you, almost in the mind of your character, don't know what's going on and you're confused and you don't know which way to look, you know that you failed a will save. So anything you can do to separate the character's knowledge from the player's knowledge, but again, this has to be something you establish in advance, so it won't be a problem. Another thing is a player versus dungeon master mentality. Some people believe that the GM screen helps to provide a false sense of self-worth for the dungeon master, and that because they feel separated from the group, that they are in power over the group. Because it's my game, I am God, I am in control of the game. It's never an us versus them. It should be collaborative. If you're already having a problem like this, it's got nothing to do with the DM screen. You may want to reevaluate what you're doing as a group and as a game. Another one that is sort of an argument against using a GM screen is the transparency of the dice rolls. And by that, if you roll behind the screen 100% of the time, could that provide a bit of a distrust between the players? They don't know what you're rolling. They may wonder if you're being honest, and they may wonder if your results are as true as you say they are. Using the screen may provide that temptation for a dungeon master to fudge dice rolls, which they shouldn't be doing. Now, if the players don't trust the dungeon master, then they should perhaps considering options of not playing the game or playing another game. Again, that trust needs to be built, and that in and of itself is a problem. So one of the things I like to do is in very big moments, that's when you roll openly. Most of the game, you don't need to. But if this is the one sink or swim moment for good or for bad, that's when you want to roll it out in the open. Or if you roll a 20, I will sometimes roll it. Well, I actually rolled a 7, but let's say it's a 20. I will grab my one-handed my tray and show it. I'll take it out from behind the screen just to let them know I'm not fibbing. Really, this went down. Don't be mad at me. I'm not trying to lie. This is just the way it goes down sometimes. So every now and again, do it out in the open just so that you continue to keep up a good faith scenario. Another one that people disagree about is the quick reference charts, because these are the kind of things that I really like, is everything inside. Especially for Pathfinder, these are mostly about the skill checks. For example, some stats on weapons, hardness of like how hard is a door or a table, if you're blinded, if you're grappled, if you're paralyzed, if you're panicked. That's stuff that I can't memorize all of it. I have a good understanding, but if I need a quick reference, boom, there you go. And what I like to do, well, the argument first is that they say these details are available within the books themselves. But the time it takes to get in the book, if you have a bookmark, maybe that'll speed things up, to find the page, look it up, go through the index and the glossary and the appendix, and I've even heard it argued, just ask another player. But at the same time, if I have a evil wizard that you're facing, and he casts a spell, and you see this blue energy crackle up your arm, I don't want to tell you what the name of that spell is, because in your mind, you're going to know what it is. I love to describe what a spell does, because it may add a little more mystery. Is the lightning blue, or is it black? Is that just flavor, or does that have something to do with what the spell does? If you give the player too much information, you get back to that player knowledge versus character knowledge. So I like to have as many stats behind the screen as possible. And then what I also like to do is on the inside, you can see I've got other stuff that I like to clip. Use alligator clips at the top. And I've got NPC names over here. I have some basic equipment prices in the middle, and then even some stats for some spiders and things, because I've got 3 different stats for a spider, ogre spider, and like a spider swarm, all on one index card. I'm not having to flip through multiple monster manuals to find all of that. And then on the front of your GM screen, you've got places to put, I don't know, like the picture of an NPC. That's a lot of fun. If there's a monster that's fighting, you don't have to tell them what the monster is if they don't know. If you can describe it very well, that's awesome. But if you happen to have a picture of it as well that you've printed or that comes on a card that you can clip on the front, that's fantastic. So anything to add that visual pop, because yes, the GM screen can kind of get in the way, but I do have a very stupid easy solution for that. I'll tell you in just a moment. And anything in the end that separates the game master from a game is bad. I've seen game masters who like to get up, walk around. I've seen game masters who like to sit in the floor with their knees under the table and have everybody sort of sit around them. The more inclusive, the better. One of my favorite dungeon masters on YouTube, he has a notebook that has everything in it because he creates his own worlds, he creates his own gaming system, for goodness sake. So his is all in this tome. That may not work for you and your game master style. If you just like to have extra information around and be able to sort of set up an environment, that's what I do. I usually have a box for my dice just in front of me, like this, and I can put all kind of stuff behind here. But yeah, that is kind of in the way between you and me, and I appreciate that. So what I like to do is get a separate small TV dinner tray table, the kind that I remember my parents having, that were made of like metal, but I think they make them only out of wood now, and they're in regular wood color and black and really easy, and you fold them up and you put it away and you only bring it out for game night. And I have that on the side, and that is where my GM's station is, and I still have room on the edge of the table for books, for extra minis, so it's sort of a 50-50. And another thing that I've seen people do is, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, why not do it landscape? It doesn't have to be portrait style. You can make your own GM screen that lay much lower on the table than something like this. So there are plenty of opportunities, as I damage the microphone, plenty of opportunities to enhance your stylistic choice. Never let anyone tell you that something is wrong. Find out what works best for you, and don't be afraid to ask questions of your friends who've DM'd games before and see what works for them when it comes to keeping things secret and keeping things public. Until next time, from the GM's chair, I'm Cyrus. Please leave comments where the comments go, and I'll see you again on whatever the podcast, video, live stream from the Foundry Cast.
Hey, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and to see more from us, check out our website at thefoundrycast.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thanks for watching.